People let these recycled beliefs that they've picked up from the collective take control of their emotions and behaviors. And that's no accident. All of these things are just ways to keep us feeling separate from one another. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Alyssa, and this channel is about the law of attraction, building self-empowerment, and conquering limiting self-beliefs. So be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon. It's my goal to help you love yourself more and more each day and manifest what you deserve. So be sure to stay notified when I post new videos. Also, if you end up liking this video, go ahead and hit that like button, leave me a comment, and share this video if you find it useful. This video was requested by Kumar, who asked that I do a video on collective consciousness, which is perfect because I've been trying to find a way to work the topic of pendulums into one of my videos, and this was perfect for that. So thank you so much, Kumar, for requesting this video. First, I want to preface this video by telling you guys about a universal law that I actually did a video about, which I'll link below if you want to check that out. But it's the Law of Divine Oneness. And it's a law that explains that we're all energetically connected to each other as well as everything else in this universe. Before the Big Bang, we were all the same one little speck of consciousness, and what we all think and feel affects all of us. But we forgot this. And over the centuries, we've been purposefully led to believe that we're completely separate from one another. So I just wanted to mention that since it does correlate with collective consciousness and pendulums. Now, collective consciousness is a system of thoughts, beliefs, values, and ideas that are shared among a group of people or a society. And these shared beliefs usually play a pretty pivotal role in how that society functions or operates. In fact, a lot of times these collective ideas are sort of the glue that holds that community together. In this community, it can be a whole country, a state, a town, a village. These systems work on a large and a small scale. So that's the basic overview of what defines collective consciousness. Let's take 2020 when the peak of the pandemic hit. There was so much fear and confusion coursing through all of us, which got into our collective energy fields. And we all felt that. And the media was sure to stay ultra focused on that fear 24/7, which in my opinion just amplified the problem. How we're even conditioned as kids or growing up in general is a great example of what makes up collective belief systems. I'm sorry, I know there's probably a lot of Disney fans watching, and I have always loved Disney too, but they played a pretty huge role in a lot of our beliefs surrounding love and relationships, wealth and poverty, even our family dynamics. I was listening to a podcast the other day, I don't remember which one, but they mentioned how in the majority of Disney movies, if not all of them, there's a parent that dies in the beginning or at some point in the movie. Or there's some sort of trauma or tragedy that the main character, usually as a child, has to carry around throughout the whole movie. Why? Why does there need to be early childhood trauma in kids' movies? Who thinks that kids need to be exposed to that? Conditioning in general isn't just from Disney. It's been coming from advertising, Hollywood movies, even our music. So just be aware and conscious of what you're consuming. Anyway, there's also the collective unconscious, which is a term coined by psychiatrist Carl Jung. And he used this term to define the subconscious aspects of human beings as a whole, things that we either don't know that are hidden within us or we purposefully try to hide them. But they're common shadow aspects of us as a collective. So just want to define that as well because, as you probably know, your subconscious beliefs control about 95% of your life. So it's important to understand that definition as well. Now, pendulums. So when the majority of these people are veered towards a very specific way of thinking or a certain belief system, these beliefs gain momentum. And it creates an invisible field of electromagnetic energy that holds this information among that group of people. And that energy builds and builds, and over time it starts to gain control over that group of people. And over time that becomes part of the collective identity of that group. And that's what you'd call pendulums, as mentioned in the book Reality Transurfing. A great example of this is politics. Throughout the world, we have these political pendulums, but specifically here in the US, we have either blue or Democratic states or red or Republican states. So each state has a volume of people that are leaning towards one political system or another, creating an energetic pendulum effect, gaining momentum and swinging either which way. When we had the 2016 elections here in the US, and probably before that, but I was an adult for this election and paid attention to it way more than I should have. But I noticed that there were people who identified as either Democrat or Republican, among other political parties, but it felt like people were sacrificing one set of moral standards for another, according to the collective beliefs of each political party. Like one party would stay quiet about one issue and then get overly passionate about another issue. We tend to think that we have to only lead towards one set of standards, and that's really kept us divided. And all of this doesn't start in these large groups, right? It starts on a smaller scale and then it grows over time. See, when we think a thought, the energy of that thought gets thrown into our energy field and can then be picked up by another person, and then another person, and so on and so on. Now imagine our triggers. When we get triggered, imagine the potency of the negative emotions associated with those. And imagine how easy that would be to spread from one person to another. So that's why the topics of politics and religion are such sensitive ones. People let these recycled beliefs that they've picked up from the collective take control of their emotions and behaviors. And that's no accident. All of these things are just ways to keep us feeling separate from one another, keep us from acknowledging that connection. Look at the news. Most of what we see on the news is negative and fear-based. And each news station represents different political systems, keeping these people leaning either one way or another. And that's to keep the majority of us wrapped up in these low vibe energy patterns, because we're easier to control and most likely to respond to authority when we're afraid and divided. But that is a whole other video. Another example is sports. I actually have a great real-life example of how deep this can get. So I'm from America, right? And over here, American football is a pretty big deal. And like every sports-loving country or continent in the world, we get pretty attached to our team, right? Well, when my younger brother was about 10 years old, my mom and now ex-stepdad decided to take my brother to a Buffalo Bills game. Now we're from upstate New York, where there are a lot of Bills fans. However, my stepfather is a Raiders fan, and my brother wanted to wear an NFL jersey to the game. Well, lo and behold, no Bills fans in the house, so he wore a Raiders jersey. Now, naturally, you'd probably think, no big deal, he's a kid, let him wear what he wants. Well, this particular group of Bills fans was so caught up in this collective mentality of being die-hard Bills fans that they saw my brother in this Raiders jersey, got triggered, and started yelling and cursing at him. Again, he was 10. But either way, he threatened their belief system in a way. Now, do you think that each one of those men individually, if they saw my brother on a random day on the street, do you think they would go up and yell and curse at him, this 10-year-old kid, for wearing a jersey? Probably not. But they were so sucked into that mob mentality of that collective pendulum that they let it control them. Crazy. Now keep that word in mind, control. See, we humans sort of have this misconception that we're in complete control of our thoughts, that we have minds of our own, we think for ourselves, and a lot of us think that we're not easily influenced by other people's belief systems. But what if most of what we think we know about life is just made up of borrowed or recycled belief systems? Borrowed belief systems that were handed down to us. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes we attach ourselves to these belief systems and then we identify with them on a core level. And that's when they can start controlling us. That's where judgment comes from. And that's why we can't have a conversation with someone who disagrees with us about something. We just argue and fight to defend what we think we care so much about. But what if we looked at these triggers when they came up and asked ourselves, do I really care about this that much? Is this my belief that I'm defending so passionately, or was this handed off to me at some point in my life? And ask yourself why it shouldn't be okay for someone else to have a different perspective from yours. Don't buy into the separation game. We can still like each other and have different views. Think of these beliefs like a ton of heavy baggage that someone handed to us one day and said, here, this is yours now. This is who you are. Enjoy. And we didn't even ask questions. We just took it and then we adjusted everything to fit all that luggage into our lives. Right now, someone is waking up either pissed off or offended, probably because someone told them to feel that way. Maybe it was the news about something political. Maybe someone disagreed with them on something. And because their belief systems were threatened, the ego goes into overdrive because it has to be right. So it triggers that person's emotional responses pretty strongly. So I guess in conclusion, because I'm going to get to rambling again, In conclusion, it's okay to have these beliefs, all right? I'm not saying to stop believing in something that you've believed in your whole life. I'm just saying be aware that these can become part of your inner thoughts and core beliefs, and we manifest things in our lives accordingly. So just be careful about which ones you decide to identify with, because you're in control, and just see whether or not these are serving you and the people around you. Take a step back and see it from an outside perspective. See if it's something that you should keep in your energy field. So that is all I have on collective consciousness and pendulums. I really hope this video was helpful, and thank you so much again to Kumar for requesting it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, as well as that notification bell. And of course, if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, share this video, and leave me a comment. But thank you all so much for watching today, and as always, please be safe, much love, and I'll see you next time.